What's up, y'all? This is Dre with Brothers United Leadership Development, Bill 206, with another episode of our Bill Black Wealth podcast. I'm in the studio with Mr. Jeffrey, my brother from another. How you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Thank you for having me.
I'm
This is good.
glad you can join us. And so Jeffrey is one of our incubator program participants, doing a lot of great work in the community. So tell us a little bit about the work that you're doing. Tell us a little bit about yourself and the background, how you got into what you're doing.
Cool. No problem. So I run an organization called the Seattle Urban Book Expo, and what we do is we provide writing and promotional services for aspiring self-published authors of color. How I got into that, and I'm a self-published author myself. Started in 2014 because my daughter wanted a children's book, a dinosaur book, and I took it to a bookstore. And when I looked at the bookshelves, I didn't see any characters that looked like my kid.
Right.
So I decided to write it, and I I was weighing the options between being traditionally published or self-published, and I didn't have the patience for traditional publishing, so I took the self-publishing route. And it took me 2 years to get all the information just to publish the book that I wanted to write for my child. And after that, I realized there was some other things I needed to follow up with. And once I did that, I realized that it was a service that people needed. So I just started, creating this organization, the Seattle Urban Book Expo, to provide the information for people who also wanted to self-publish too. And ever since 2016, we've been rock and roll ever since. Just been doing annual book fairs, workshops, one-on-one coaching, connecting people to different bookstores or writing organizations that fits what they need. And yeah, we're just growing. And
So it's kind of like a pipeline. You kind of made a blueprint on how to publish
mm-hmm.
and illustrate, and you're kind of connecting. It's kind of like from what I'm understanding is, it's kind of like one-stop shop. Like people come there, get this information. It's educational, and then it's also opportunity for folks to fellowship that are like-minded.
Yeah,
Correct?
exactly. Our like one of my our pillars, right, is we create writers, we cultivate their skills, and we connect them with like-minded people, whether it's readers and other writers too. So that's the objective for the Seattle Urban Book Expo, and it makes it a lot easier because to me the publishing industry, writing industry, it's been around for hundreds of years, right? But it's something that doesn't get talked about frequently in our community as like a viable career option
Right.
until you ask directly. Like it's something that's not promoted. Like, hey, you should be a writer. It's not on the same promotional levels of like being an athlete or being a musician in our community. And what I wanted to do was change that narrative. Like, no, you can be a writer. Like, you
Right.
can write your own book because now you have something that you could pass on generation to generation that could bring you happiness, whether it's personal or financial happiness too. And a lot of people that I've run into in the community who wanted to write a book, showing them that I could see their wheels turning. Like, oh, okay, now I can write this book, but now look at the benefits that could bring me now. So
Right.
that's been the joy of what I've been doing. I've been learning ever since I got started.
Yeah, it's dope. Sounds like it's almost like an opportunity to bring folks together, but also like a hands-on mentoring to teach them
Yeah.
how to navigate. So is that something that you kind of always wanted to do, or did you just kind of, sounds like you kind of fell into it, but I don't know if that's something that you kind of, as even when you were younger, did you always think about like, hey, I don't really see myself reflected in these books, or I think I can write a better book, or, I want to put my story on paper. Like, that's something like, how did you kind of get into that besides writing a book for your daughter?
And like you said, I fell into it. It started happening. The more people kept asking me questions, the more I became a mentor because all the research and all the work I've done, I had the answers. So, and everybody just kept asking me like, Jeff, how'd you do this? How'd you do that? And then it just, like you said, I fell into becoming a help. Yeah, I didn't expect none of this. I'm just going with the flow because honestly, I just wanted to do a black book fair, because I never experienced it myself when I got started. When I wrote my book, I didn't know where to go to promote it or to learn. So I had to go. It all started me going to Toronto, Canada. I forgot to add that part. I went to Toronto, Canada to participate in the book fair out there. And that's where I got inspired to bring that energy here.
Right.
And like I said, originally it was just doing the event. And then it turned to me coaching people and teaching workshops because I never saw myself as a teacher.
Right.
Like I shortchanged myself originally thinking that I didn't have the capabilities to do it. But the more I kept learning about this industry, the more I kept learning about my craft, the more I understood that I was an asset to help people out.
Yeah, and that's something about entrepreneurship and leadership in general. A lot of times people think like people got the whole blueprint
Hmm.
mapped out or the business plan or whatever you call it. And a lot of times it kind of evolves and the plan is there, but it's not necessarily all the way sketched out. And then like, I know I've struggled with that. Other folks I know struggle too, just with like not knowing if people are really going to take the information or how's it going to land and this and that. Speaking of the book fair you went to Canada, was that like a folks of color thing or was it? Oh,
Hmm.
okay.
Yeah, so shout out to my homegirl, Stephanie Marie Robinson. She's the organizer for the Toronto Urban Book Expo, and she gave me my blessing to say the Seattle Urban Book Expo. It is pretty much a homage to her and my experiences out in Toronto, Canada. Being from Seattle, like we have our black community up here, but it's small.
Right.
It's a small community. So when I went to Toronto, Canada, not only did I see black folks, I saw Jamaicans, I saw Trinidadians, I saw
Wow.
I was like, yo. And I'm over here bringing my Seattle arrogance, talking about, man, y'all got a dope accent, and they're looking at me like, no, you the one with the accent. And I was like, oh yeah, I ain't from here, man. So, and that humbled me, and then just learning about culture outside of Seattle,
Right.
because that was my first time being out of the country ever. Was going
Right.
to Toronto, Canada, back in 2016, and so yeah, it's
So you came back like immediately and did the
yeah,
fair here. And
yeah.
just,
Because what happened was I had all the Caribbean vibe, the Caribbean food. I had saltfish for the first time. It was delicious, and I'm having all this cultural experience. And this is in February
right.
when I went out there during the NBA All Star Weekend. And then when I came back, all that good juju just washed off when I hit the airport, the SeaTac airport. I was like,
He said all the truth.
yeah, all the good juju, man. I'm like, yo, I need that back. So that's why I had the idea to just like, okay, I need to bring that energy I felt in Toronto and bring it to Seattle.
Right.
But it was mainly for the event, not the coaching. It was
Right. It just morphed into
it
that.
just morphed
Yeah,
into
natural.
that, yeah.
Because the need is there. And
Yeah.
that's the dope thing about it. So you talked about it a little bit, but like kind of what's really motivating you to continue the work that you do, and you did talk about why you do it, but you can like why and who you do it for, and like what's the real motivation? What's your why basically?
My why is my daughter, man. Because like I said, I got started. I wrote my book because of my kid. Because she was 3 to 4 years old. So it's almost like I have an obligation to her to see this all the way through now because she grew up with me doing
Right.
it. You know what I'm saying? And now like having her involved in the events, actually having her input in decision making for what we're going to do for certain type of events. It's my kid, and now it's a family business now, and that's like the best feeling in the world to know that I'm helping her develop
Right.
like with like not only being a child but like an entrepreneurial mindset now,
Right.
like showing her how to do a budget for events and like this is the type of things you say to when you want to communicate to partners or sponsors or things like that, and having her gravitate towards it and having her see what she's turning herself into now, like her mind, she doesn't feel limited
Right.
anymore, and it's my daughter. That's really the best way I could put it. It's like my kid is pushing me.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That's dope. Describe your journey towards success and like what has been like one of your biggest lessons learned.
Man, my journey to success. The first thing I think about is everybody ain't gonna go with you. Everybody's not gonna go. You want everybody to come with you, but everybody ain't gonna go with you because it's not their vision is yours.
Right.
And I'm happy you asked me this because I wanted to, with the interviews I've done, one thing I always want to bring out is that I've lost a lot of friendships doing this. You know what I'm saying? Because I've missed out on things they wanted me to attend, but I couldn't, or they don't understand the selfishness you need to have in order to make a business work.
Right.
Especially for people who are not like don't have an entrepreneur mindset, which is fine. But what I've learned is that there's a certain level of selfishness that's required to succeed. Like you have to put yourself in front of everybody. But you have to think about it. But you have to think of the long term, though.
Right.
Like we ain't gonna be cool now, but as long as I'm respectful about why I need to distance myself from you, you might come back around. And that part always hurts because you might lose friendships that you've been having for like 10, 12, 15 years.
Right.
But your business is your baby. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? You got to nurture it like a mother, protect it like a father. And just like your child, there's certain people that are cool with you, though, but you know that they can't be around your kid because of
Right.
the influences they bring. That's the same thing with a business, too. Like, there's certain things that I can't do or I can't go to because of how it's going to impact my business.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's one of the biggest lessons I learned for success. And I've experienced a lot of success as far as developing relationships with people, the right partners for that.
Right.
But it's because of that mindset I've had of like, you have to be selfish. And the biggest lie we're being told is like, oh, no, you can't be selfish. You have to be giving. You could be giving, but you still have to put your business first, though.
Yeah, you got to prioritize what's. So it's kind of like the 90-10 rule.
Yeah.
Where it's like 90% of the work people don't see.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like you said, if I'm going out and doing all this other stuff, I'm not doing the planning, the implementing, the partnership development, the budgeting, or whatever. That's something people don't really see. They just see, oh, just great event. They show up and they think everything just, yeah, that took a lot of work to make those things happen behind the scenes. It's kind of, or whatever the business is. If you're got a restaurant or whatever, it's like there's 90% of the work nobody that goes behind the scenes that nobody really sees. They just see like the finished product. I'm walking in and having this experience, right?
Exactly, yeah. And the more you get into it, the more you realize how like that's necessary. It
Right.
hurts at first. Like, dang, I want to go to the birthday party, or I want to go on a trip, or I want to go to their event. But if you already schedule something out for your own business, you have to make the sacrifice that you can't go.
Right.
And some people don't like. Some people understand it, but then people naturally don't understand it, and they distance themselves from you. You know.
Yeah, it
So
is what it is. Like you said,
yeah.
sometimes it's opportunities for people to grow and come back again later. It's kind of like work. You know, hey,
Yeah.
I got to go to work, even though it's my own business. It is, business or organization. I got to make sure I'm dedicating time to making things happen, or being a parent or whatever. So I think, maybe trying to frame it in that way might help people grasp it a little better. Maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe not. So we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be back in a second.
Get informed about your rights as an employee working in the city of Seattle. Check out Build's labor law information at www.build206.com/labor standards today.
Welcome back to the Build Black Wealth podcast. We are here today with Jeffrey, my brother from another, one of our incubator program participants. We're going to jump back into this conversation. I got a few more questions for you. What resources do you think our community need to be successful to start a business, organization, et cetera? Like, what do you think are the top resources needed for our community?
You need the information on your business. Like, you got to know your business, and you got to know it. You got to know what your demographics are, what's the need that you're fulfilling, and the trick is, though, it may take years for you to really understand exactly what the needs you're filling. You just got to go through trial by error,
Right.
Because especially, I didn't go to school for writing, right? I went to school for football.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like all this stuff just came after after I left college, but I've always had it in me to be an artist, though. You know what I'm saying? But I started looking into it after my daughter was born, and one thing that I always beat myself over was I didn't have all the information, but I kept going after it, and I realized it's fine to not have all the information. So, but I would advise people, though, you got to keep studying your craft. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to do it every day or at least 4 times a week. Study it. And you're not going to have all the answers. And you're never going to have all the answers for your business. But just have enough so that way you can function. That way you can provide a service for people. Another thing, too, is the relationships with community. Like nobody could do this on their own. That's why I don't like that phrase self-made.
Right.
That's a lie.
Nobody.
We all had, every single successful person had a group of people there to bring them up to get to the position that they're at right now.
Right.
So relationships are very important. So if you do not have people skills, work on your people skills. Work on that. Whether you got to do like training on like public speaking, or see a therapist or something like that to get over your little hang up, do that. Another thing too is selfishness. Like selfishness is a bit of a virtue because that means you prioritize your life ahead of distraction.
Right.
That's my opinion about it. So I would say gather the information, gather knowledge, be a little bit selfish at the same time, and also work on your relationships with people. People that are going to provide a better way for you to get to where you need to go to. So those would be my 3 key things.
Yeah, that's just good, solid advice across the board. As an entrepreneur, what's one tip or trick that you've learned that helped you succeed? So you could talk about what you're doing now, but just in general, because I know you got a lot of different things that you're doing outside of being an author and running the book expo and things like that. So just thinking as an entrepreneur, period, like what are some things that you learned that helped you succeed?
Yeah, the trick. What's the trick? I'm trying to think. Do anything special. I think the best trick that I've learned is don't be afraid of making a mistake. Like, don't be afraid of getting cussed out.
Right.
Like, you're gonna get cussed out. People are gonna talk bad about you. It happens. But I think that's the trick is really not caring what nobody says. And it's funny that I say that out loud because I used to hate that advice when I would see it on YouTube because I felt it was a cliche thing to say.
Right.
Like, don't give a damn about what nobody says about you. And it's like, oh, that's something everybody says. That really is true though. Like, you really can't care what nobody says because the older I've gotten, the more I receive, nobody really knows what the hell they're talking about for real. Like, 80% of people really don't know what the hell they're talking about, so why am I listening to those people?
Right.
Like, they're just talking because they don't understand what I'm doing. But when I keep being around like-minded individuals like myself, they get what I'm doing, so it's like, oh, okay, I got to be around these people
Right.
so I can really get the advice I really need because y'all are doing it versus the 80, 90% of people who will never do what we're doing. So yeah, just really lose that thing of considering other people's opinions, especially if they're not even in your field.
Well, it sounds like what you're saying. You need to pick and choose whose opinion you.
Right, yeah, pick
because
and choose.
Because sometimes it does matter if it's your
Yeah.
client base or partners or whatever.
Mentor, yeah.
Somebody's giving you feedback.
Right.
You know, you don't want to just be like, I ain't listening to that. I'm gonna do what I do and just,
Right.
and that's how you lose support. So, but other folks that may not really get it or understand, it's kind of like, yeah, I don't really have time to try to explain this to you. So yeah.
That's the best way I could put it. So it's like if people's advice is like a lifestyle, right? And you got to buy lifestyles. You will literally look into whose advice you're taking to see if that's the lifestyle you want to have.
Right. Right.
So that's the best way I could put that. You know,
you're
it's
not
like,
gonna take marriage advice from somebody who's never been married.
right? Not gonna take marriage advice from you, or not gonna do it. So that'd be the best way I could describe that, right? So if somebody's giving you advice, do an honest outlook on their lifestyle, and then ask yourself, do I want their lifestyle? And if it's not, don't take their advice then.
Right.
That'd be the best way I could put it.
Right. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
What's the best advice you can give someone who just wants to get started? You know, sometimes it's like it seems so daunting to try to start a business or an organization or even throw an event.
Mm-hmm.
What's the best advice you would give folks to, you know, kind of get things going?
Just start. Just start. Like, the hardest part is starting. Like, I was petrified when I did my first book expo because I did all those doubts. Like, you're not what are you talking about, writer, bro? Like, we was playing football since we were 6 years old. You ain't a writer. And then doing the first book event, like, what do you know about book events, bro? Like, you sucked as a club promoter. Like, why would you know?
Right.
Like, why? But I just did it anyway because I kept empowering the outcome more than the journey itself. Like, I was looking forward to what I wanted to see at the end than what I was going through at that time. So I would just say what I would advise people is just start. Just take that first step. Just start. Just do it. And you're going to make a mistake. You're gonna make hella mistakes.
Right.
Like,
I always tell people like they come to our events and something like, "Oh, this is amazing, this and that." And I was like, "Well, you're from the outside looking in. It
you
was
don't even
great.
know.
But this guy didn't read the agenda. This was late. This,
Right.
So it's like, but their experience, that's part of the preparation and planning and things like that. Is like a lot of times I never threw an event where it went the way
It never does.
you want it to go in your head, right?
Yeah, it never does.
But it'd be dope though.
It always be good. Everybody's like, "Oh, this is the best event ever." You be sitting there just like, "Oh man," like, bruh, you don't understand. The food didn't get here on time.
Right.
Like that happens to me, and I had to get over that. It took me to the third book expo to understand like I'm never gonna have a perfect event.
Yeah.
Like you said, in my head, it's never gonna be perfect.
Yeah.
But everybody has a good time, so that's all that matters.
Yeah, having them high expectations is good. And,
Yeah.
setting stuff up for it to be successful. The structure is good too. So that's good, solid advice. So how do folks get in contact? You make sure it's in the marketing. It's in the job. I mean, not the job. It's in the description, the show description. But we know, as as an author, people take in information differently. So we're gonna give you an opportunity to talk to the folks and kind of tell them how to get in touch with you.
All right, what's up, man? It's your boy Jeffrey Lee Cheatham II, aka Mr. Kicks book author. You know what I'm saying? It's like, no. I tried my best rapper impersonation. I'm sorry. So to find me, so my organization, Seattle Urban Book Expo, you can follow us. You can find us on our website, www.subeseattle.com. On Instagram, we're just Seattle Urban Book Expo. Just spell it straight out like that. On Facebook, it's SUBE. And for me personally, for my children's books, check out my website, www.jeffcheatham2.com, jeffcheatham2.com. All my children's books are on there. All my events are on there as well. So subscribe to the websites and you'll get consistent updates on what's going on.
So y'all make sure you guys tap in with Jeff and the work that he's doing in community. Go out and support. Buy some books. Until next time, this is Dre with Brothers United Leadership Development. This is another episode of our Build Black Wealth podcast. See you later. Peace.